Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football, and welcome back to the Winning Drive. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis. Also pleased to be joined by fellow lifetime Longhorn, the young prodigy CJ Vogel, and the coach, former high school football coach at Vernon, Capel, Brownwood, Rotan, Belton. Also played college football at Abilene Christian and coached there in multiple stints, and also was on the staff at the University of Texas for multiple head coaches as well. And you can catch his work now. I see the hat right there. ShipleyRanches.com. It's our coach, Bob Shipley. What's going on, Coach? How you doing? Doing all right?
Man, we are so blessed out here in the big country of Texas.
Woo.
We've had rain. Oh, man, we've had rain. Good night. Good rain. 2, 3, 4 inches. I don't 2 or 3, 4 different storms came through. Well, I say storms, just rain. Just rain. Colin, my man. Colin A. Strike from Llano. He was the guy that I played against in the game show. Remember that?
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
Movies. Cover 2, baby.
Cover 2.
Cover 2.
It's good. It's good out here, man, and it's great to be back in a game week, man. I am fired up because, man,
I agree.
I mean, after watching those games this weekend, it's there for us, guys. It is there for us if we'll just do our part. Nothing has changed.
Yeah, I agree with the coach. Obviously, and CJ, that's something that I observed too. And I'll include Texas in on this. Coach, it was your birthday. What was your birthday, Coach?
November 1st. I don't know when it was. A couple days, 3 days.
You don't know what it was. Happy belated birthday, Coach. I don't know. That's
Chris
how guys
never
are.
misses a thing, though, does he?
CB's got it going. Happy birthday, Coach.
Yeah, thanks.
Happy birthday, Coach. I didn't realize it. See, dudes don't voice it. They don't.
It's just. When you get, it's just another day. Everybody tell you that it's just another day, man. I mean, they're coming too fast, and growing too old. I'm about to that point though that I'm, the old song "Too Young to Die Old," or too old to die young. Yeah, that's it. I'm getting about to that point now where it's like, well, he didn't die too young. 64. Let's see. Yeah, too young, but it ain't too old. It's a sweet spot. That's how I feel. It
is, Coach. Hey, you got to celebrate him too, Coach. I didn't know that. So thank you, CB, for reminding us that Coach had a special day. So we appreciate that. Happy belated birthday to the Coach. All right. We got my man Stevie Lee coming up. Lifetime Longhorn Stevie Lee's going to join us here momentarily, and we'll get to him and talk to him about Texas football. Also, we're going to get into the upcoming opponent. We'll talk about the Florida Gators. Apparently, there's been an injury update with them. Also, there's an injury update with the Longhorns. Steve Sarkisian spoke to the media. CJ Vogel was there, boots on the ground. So we'll talk about what Sark had to say about the team. We'll get into that as well, and the upcoming opponent for the Longhorns, the Florida Gators. There's also future scheduling to get to. The Longhorns now have another big blue blood program as a future opponent coming up, and it'll be Notre Dame. We'll talk about that a little bit coming up on the show, get you guys' thoughts, and of course you guys know how this works. The show is all about you, so whatever you guys want to talk about, hit us up, questions, comments, super chats, jump to the front of the line. You can interrupt the show at any time, but we appreciate you guys joining us and all your participation. But starting off, Coach brought up something interesting that as just kind of a college football fan, this past weekend we got a chance to watch all the college football action, and it was chaos, which seems to be the case weekend by weekend here late as we get through the college football schedule. But there is no juggernaut in college football. There is no I don't know if there's an elite team, and I'll include Texas in that. Texas is a great team, but I don't know if they're elite. And with that being said, though, I do think, and Sark brought this up too, CJ, that Texas' best football is yet to come. It would be a shame to waste this opportunity because there is no juggernaut. It's wide open. Like this is where you can come take a national title right here if you're Texas. You're as good as anybody else out there, and this is a golden opportunity for Sark to win his first national title. It really is, man.
No, it truly is, and that's kind of why it's so frustrating that Texas has a loss, because this isn't a Georgia team that, again, I know Georgia whooped Texas. I'm not denying that. But that's not the Georgia team that we've seen over the last 3 or 4 years, and it still isn't, right? Carson Beck, not a quarterback that, or at least performance-wise, not what we were expecting from him. Georgia, over what we've seen with, Stetson Bennett the last few years as well, it feels like that's a beatable team. And for that to be the team that beat Texas, it's kind of frustrating in the sense that, again, you look across the country, Oregon's undefeated, Miami's undefeated. Neither of them truly feel like a team that is overwhelmingly better than their opponents right now. You know, Miami's had to squeak out a few games, got bailed out on a Hail Mary late in the game. Oregon, it was almost a 7-point game with about 3 minutes left against Michigan this past week, and we know Michigan's not a good football team. I know they pulled away, but still, Ohio State got some guys. Oregon's got some guys. Mm-hmm. Georgia's going to be dangerous if they make it back to the playoff, and Carson Beck can keep the ball in his own hands. But you're right, Rod. This does feel like the best opportunity Texas has had maybe in 15 years to win a national championship?
Yeah.
If they can come back out of this bye week and get that mojo back, Sarkisian talked about that this morning in his press conference. Texas is going to be, sitting pretty well going into the postseason if they can take care of their business over the next 4 weeks.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, that's sitting back watching it. That's kind of something that you realize. That's why Longhorn fans are really excited, as they should be, because the Longhorns are in the thick of it. So we'll get to injury updates first and foremost, because there are a lot of them across the board, even with some upcoming opponents for the Longhorns, including the Florida Gators. But let's first start off jumping into our weekly guests. We're thankful and grateful for our friends over at Hard Grove Roofing to have Stevie Lee come on with us every Monday. Lifetime Longhorn Stevie Lee joins us courtesy of Hard Grove Roofing with offices all over Texas, Louisiana, and Arkansas. We really appreciate our friends over at Hard Grove Roofing for sponsoring the winning drive, but also for sponsoring our segment here with Stevie Lee. Thanks to them. They can also bring you superior, reliable service. If you have any concerns about your roof, you want to know who's on your roof, and Hard Grove Roofing, folks, they are the company for you. They have, of course, great relationships with Stevie Lee, and also Bert Arbin as well, other Lifetime Longhorns, the most pro burnt orange roofing company out there. But if you need an inspection on your roof, or if you just need somebody to come out and look at your roof, or you need a new roof, this is a great company. Hard Grove Roofing, know who's on your roof, and today offering a free roof inspection. So if you are concerned about anything happening with your roof, you can get a free roof inspection from Hard Grove Roofing. Go to hardgroveroofing.com or go check them out at 512-645-3202. Thank you very much to Hard Grove Roofing, and thank you, Stevie, for joining us every Monday as you do. We appreciate your time. How was your weekend?
It was great, man. Missed my Longhorns not playing this weekend, but it was some good football out there. I got a chance to watch a little bit of that Florida game, so to see what was going on, you know?
Yeah. What are your thoughts about how, Florida's next upcoming opponent for the Longhorns? So let me get your thoughts about how they played. You might as well get to the first injury update. DJ Lagway had to be carted off, actually, from that game, and turns out the report is it is a severe hamstring injury, but he has not been ruled out, according to Florida, of the Texas-Florida game. What are your thoughts about what you saw from Florida and upcoming with now their third-string quarterback, Aiden Warner, I believe is his name, the walk-on transfer from Yale, who's going to be the third, expected to be the starter versus Texas?
Yeah, it's going to be a fun game. That's all. It's going to be a fun game. They got to get their run game started. I don't think they can do that against our defensive front. Have y'all heard that we appeal anything with Vernon, or is he going to be out the first half?
He'll be out the first half. Yep. Texas is prepared for him to be on the sideline for that first half.
Okay, well, yeah. So other defensive tackles just need to step up for the first half, and then he'll come back in and wreak havoc on in the second half. I tried to watch their big defensive lineman that they have to see what kind of damage he can do against our offensive line. He's just big. He's no Trevondre Sweat, you know. So he's just what is he, 450, and he can move 3 steps, and that's about it. And I don't want to talk bad about any kids out there, but he's just not going to be. He's not going to be any kind of threat against us in our offensive line. So, it's going to be a fun game. Just go out there, take your beverage of choice, 11 o'clock kickoff, and have a good day, man. Hopefully it'll be sunny and a little cool out there. So I don't see any threat this week.
Do you think he's a threat? The big guy, obviously more of a run stop threat than a pass rush threat. How difficult is it for a guy that big to pass rush consistently, Stevie?
It's very difficult. He's going to be winded after 3 plays, right? So, that's what I saw this week, right? So, we throw some passes in there and run on second and third down, he's already tired and done, So a good jump step cut from the running back, and that hole is wide open that he left. He will leave right there, man. So we may have to double team him on some plays in the run game, but he's just kind of like a hole filler, but he can't fill every hole. You know what I'm saying? So we'll scheme right around that. There was one play that I was watching. They ran a bubble screen, and if he would have just hustled, he would have made the play, But he was just too tired to hustle. He couldn't. He got upfield and he couldn't retract to get back to make the play because it came straight up. There's a bubble screen that came straight around back to the middle, and he would have been there, but just couldn't. So I don't see any threat with that. I don't see any threat with getting to their quarterback or them running up the middle on us. I just don't see that threat right now. I could be wrong, but I don't see that threat.
Yeah. We did hear some coach speak on both sides, right? The injury to DJ Lagway, Billy Napier said that he's not ruled out yet. But when you get carted off of the field with a hamstring injury, it doesn't feel very likely that you'll be playing the next week. And then Sarkisian had some coach speak of his own, saying Florida was probably the best, if not one of the best teams that Texas has played in terms of their physical looks. You talk about guys that are first off the bus and how you want those guys to be your captains, to kind of represent your program. So Florida looks really good as anybody they've seen. Are we believing that? Or are we to believe that Florida physically might be one of the best teams Texas has faced all season long?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
It was open-ended.
I want to hear Stevie Lee's thoughts on that.
I'm not buying it, guys. I'm sorry. I'm not buying it. For what I saw, it was not. Well, I mean, it was Georgia, yes, but dude, I mean, that was a rival game for them. Anything happens in rival games. Y'all know that. But I didn't see anything. I think Georgia was taking them for granted more than Florida beating Georgia. You know what I mean? Or Florida being close to Georgia. It was just Georgia being Georgia, just trying to take a day off, and they realized that they couldn't, and they put their foot on the gas, and that was it. It was more of Georgia's fault than Florida's fault.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Today, Sark spoke to the media, and he actually had some comments about Sadir Mitchell. There's some Longhorn fans who've been, a little bit disappointed in the lack of his ascent. Right, we haven't seen him really meet some of those expectations that Longhorn fans have had from him. But Sark said he had his best 2 weeks of practice all season long. What are your thoughts about Sadir Mitchell? And because they don't really need him now, the defensive tackle rotation. It'd always be great to have him, but the guys that they've been having in the rotation have played really, really well, played at a high level. Vernon Broughton is not available for the first half of this game, so there's going to be someone who has to step up. Could that be Sadir Mitchell?
So that's the only reason he said that. He's going to be down one tackle, and so that's the only reason he talked about Mitchell. So Mitchell's going to play in the first half and filling some big shoes for Vernon. But that when I heard that he said that, I was like, oh yeah, so Vernon really isn't playing. I thought that they were going to appeal and things like that. And sometimes when you appeal, it may work as a Hail Mary. But when you're at the University of Texas, man, it really is a next man up mentality. So everybody stay ready. You know what I mean? And so I'm glad that coach is shouting them out and things like that. But I think our D line will be ready across the front. It'll be no contest.
Yeah. So you putting money on that 21-point line? It sounds like to me that ZD.
I'll be upset if we don't win by more than 21 points. I mean, they got a backup. They got a third string walk-on Yale quarterback. Come on, y'all.
I think you said Yale like that was that's part of why you think they're holding that against them.
It absolutely is. If you were a Power 5 coming out of high school, you wouldn't even thought about Yale. You would have gone Power 5, right? But that's exactly what he is. He's a Yale quarterback, and he doesn't want to get hit. He want to protect his brain. He's going to be a politician, an attorney, or a doctor. One of these things once he get done at Florida, man. And he probably goes back to Florida because he can win some elections over there.
That small town football.
Look what you thinking about, Steve. Look at you.
Small college football. Kurt Warner says, "What's up?"
Hey, there you go. I don't know. I will say that I agree with you, Steve. I've seen him plays. He's not going to offer much of a threat in that regard. I agree with you on that.
Now, what we do have to be cautious of is the trick plays that they're going to throw in there. Because when you ain't got nothing, you throw everything at you. So they may throw out some trick plays, some double passes and things like that. So just everybody play their assignment, stay home, and do your job. Don't do too much. We'll be perfectly fine.
That's actually I like that point there, Steve, because for the most part, when Texas has played talented teams with inferior quarterbacks, that's what we've seen them have to resort to do to move the football, right? Michigan, it was a flea flicker. I think Oklahoma had a double pass. Even Georgia, pulled out a flea flicker in their own end zone. What does that look like for Florida? Because they have athletes, right? They recruit Florida very well. It is still the Florida Gators. They're going to have guys, but when you don't have that quarterback and you're hamstrung by injuries there, what can they do to make this a tighter, more competitive ball game in Austin?
Well, if we did have a weak spot on our defense, look like it's going to be the run game, if you want to call it a weak spot, So I think if I was Florida, man, I would run some direct snaps to some receivers and running backs and some run pass option, things like that. Pulling a receiver into the backfield, taking snaps and things like that. But again, our defense is pretty smart. They play sound assignment defense, and I don't see it happening much or them getting anything out of that anyway.
Yeah, I'm with you. Again, Aiden Warner against Georgia this past weekend, 7 of 22 passing for 64 yards and an interception. So to your point, playing a comparable defense to what Texas can have on the field versus what Georgia, I would compare them to be very similarly, but that's kind of what you're expecting in the passing game there. Of course, selling out to stop the run would be kind of where I would set up shop if I'm the Texas defense, and they've been pretty good in that regard all season long, to be honest.
Yep.
And they got injuries too, of course, more so than at the quarterback position. That's some other guys who weren't available last week versus Georgia. We'll see run at the running back position and at wide receiver. Actually, arguably their most explosive wide receiver, Eugene Wilson, wasn't available for them last week too. So they got some issues. Steve, let me ask you ultimately about what you want to see most from the team improved out of the bye week in this game. You obviously seem pretty confident that Texas is going to be able to win and win big. What do you want the narrative to be?
I want yours to prove me wrong and start and go deep on some balls. And he can go deep and make some receptions or make the play. But I want them to be easy balls that our receivers have to get to or catch. Because when he goes deep, our receivers have to make spectacular catches because they're not in the exact spot they need them to be. I want him to prove me wrong there. I want our defense to have a ton of 3 and outs, right, and get off the field, put the ball back into Ewers' hands. And they need this because their last 2 games, one we lost, and the other one was at Vandy, and we only won by 3, right? So we need the confidence going to Arkansas, right? We need the confidence going to A&M, right? Because even though they lost, they still look good, and they're going to get up for our game. They're pissed off on what we did to them, 10 years ago. So, so we need the confidence to come out and do everything that we want to do, right? We want 3 and outs, and we want sound drives, a couple big plays down the field, but running the clock out. Just ball control, clock control, and running the ball down their throat. You remember last week I told y'all they should be doing inside drill, just trying to dig these guys out of there. Mm-hmm. And they're gonna have a great practice this week with this 400-pound guy at nose tackle. Just go in there, dig him out, get the confidence back, get your team back together. And Coach Sark talked about that last phase of the football season was the second phase. Well, this phase right here, he said, November to remember. This is the third phase of the season, and then I guess the playoffs will be the fourth phase. I don't know. I don't know how he's breaking it down.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right about that.
Yeah,
so I want to see the O-line dominate. O-line domination is what I want to see. Yeah. The O-line if the O-line doesn't have I want the O-line to have the bounce back game. Remember, we were all waiting on Quinn to have the bounce back game last game. Well, now we need O-line to have the bounce back game.
Yeah.
And Florida is a great team to have it against because Florida's got athletes, guys. They got athletes. That's basically what Sark was saying. Oh no, they got athletes. Now, are they well coached, or are they schemed into the best situation to be successful? That may be a different discussion. But Florida's one of the top 5 most talented teams you'll play on the schedule. I mean, they just are overall, in terms of overall roster, they are. That's because it's Florida. Just like when the team plays, when Texas was down, they were still loaded with talent. Even when they were down, they couldn't win games because they weren't well coached and didn't have elite schemes. They still were one of the most talented teams in the country. That was part of the irony and and part of what was disappointing about Texas when they were losing too many games.
How does that work from a mentality side, though? Florida's what, 4-4, 4-5 now? You just lost your second quarterback, probably for the year. Stevie, Rod, Coach, when you have a team that hopes to compete more than and higher at a higher level than they were expected to coming into the year, but then they battle injuries, and you're sitting there thinking, all right, what now do we have to fight for? Coach is on the hot seat. Starting quarterback that's been here for 4 years, he's done for the year. The freshman phenom that was maybe in a situation that could save us, he's likely out for a few games. What do we fight for now? How does that work? How do you get ready for a game like this?
I think it's really tough for them. I think it's if we would have seen them a home game in this situation, starting with this transfer walk-on type quarterback from Yale, we'd know a little bit more because you're going to play your best typically at home, in front of the home crowd and all that. Them having to come to Austin in front of a hopefully a very boisterous crowd and, against the top 5 team in the country, I'm not going to be surprised if once we get up a little bit, they're like, well, here we go again. It's just not our year. It's just not going to be our year. So you have to win the first quarter. You have to, I think, dominate the first quarter, and you've got to send a message to them right off the bat that it's going to be the same old thing here. Don't expect to come in here and upset anybody.
I'm with you. Texas hasn't done that last 4 games, so if you talk about getting your mojo back, it starts with finding hot starts. And to Coach's point, you got to have that against Florida. That makes a team roll over and die a little quicker. Right. They're not fighting for anything. They're banged up. If you pop 20 on them first quarter, 14 even, and you get some stops defensively, well, that's an uphill battle that they're just not going to climb. So that's a big key for me in this game as well.
Yep.
Plus, you look at the receivers. What kind of confidence do the receivers have in that quarterback?
They see him every day in practice, to your point. They know.
Yeah.
They know. I'm with you on that. And the fast start, they had a fast start versus Georgia, kept it in the game. They were leading at halftime. I think 13-6, something like that. Georgia pulls away, especially after the Lagway injury. All right, Stevie, thank you very much for the time. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. One question. Vegas only gave us 21 points.
Wow. Stevie is just, man.
Is that it? Oh, we can't talk about betting. Is that
no,
bad?
No, we can. No, we can. So you're saying it should be like a 28 point?
I'm telling everybody out there.
Wow.
Take that bet. It's gonna be way more than 21 points.
Man.
And when y'all win, just text me, message me, and I'll give y'all my address for my portion, okay?
So you're gonna pay if they don't cover too, right?
No, I didn't say that, Coach.
Stevie. I'm saying Stevie is. I agree. Stevie's confident. You know what? We're gonna let you have your day, Stevie. No rat poison. I think Stevie says he wants a 50 burger, basically. All right, Stevie, thanks for the time, brother. We appreciate it.
All right, man. We see y'all later. Hook 'em.
Thanks, Stevie.
Oh, that
man,
is
I'll tell you, that's all. This was so awkward for me because
wow,
I do the coach speech, and always have, and you don't ever say, "Oh man, they can't hang with us. We're gonna," I mean, I'm just hearing all this. And I'm going, no.
I know. Trust me, I'll admit, without DJ Lagway, I wanted DJ Lagway to play because I was confident Texas was going to beat Florida. That was not even an issue. But I admitted that with the stretch of the schedule here to end the season, you're going to have 3 out of the 4 games, or at least you were when DJ Lagway was healthy. 3, and he still could play, I guess, technically. We're going to be his dual threat quarterbacks, right? Taylor Green, Marcel Reed. And it would have been nice to get another exposure, right? Basically a game that exposed you to a dual threat quarterback so that you would have solutions already ready to go. You would already have, a potential, kind of almost a inoculation, almost vaccinated, if you will, and exposed to a dual threat quarterback so that your players know how to deal with him. Diego Pavia is probably the best dual threat quarterback you faced. I guess you can put Michael Hawkins in there, but he technically couldn't throw the football downfield. Pavia made some plays. It took the team a little bit to adjust to him. He made some plays. That's what dual threat quarterbacks do. They'll make plays. They'll make something out of nothing. They can color, outside the lines, make off schedule, off the script plays. And I wanted them to have exposure to that in case, they have to deal with that potential issue down the line. But the Aggies have other issues now because the World in the Streets, Le'Veon Moss, their young tailback, he's going to be out for the rest of the season with a season-ending injury. So Aggies also dealing with the injury bug down the line. But that's why I thought the Lagway situation would be interesting for Texas because Florida's not good enough to beat Texas. But with Lagway, he presents lots of problems that you have to try to solve as a coaching staff and as a team. And I think defensively, that would have been a situation where the defense could have had some growth in that area potentially.
They'll fortunately get that test that you're speaking about with one of those true dual threat quarterbacks in Fayetteville. Now, you probably would have liked to have had it against a little bit less talented of a team, and at home, going on the road to face Taylor Green and or Malachi Singleton, both of them provide the same problems, right? They can run, they're elusive, and they have just enough arm talent to make the throws down the field. That's what you're going to see against Texas A&M and College Station with Marcel Reed. Now, Texas A&M, to your point, Le'Veon Moss is a very significant loss for them. I mean, that offense already struggled in the passing game. They have good receivers. They don't have great wide receivers. They're kind of like Georgia in the sense those guys are just kind of there. They're not going to be game-changing wide receivers, and that's been their issue the entire year, right? They don't really create a lot of separation down the field. They don't have that game-changing speed. Jahdae Walker, their best wide receiver, good football player. Who do they have after him right now? They ran a jet sweep with Noah Thomas this past weekend, and he's a 6'6" guy. He can't move on a jet sweep the way a Silas Bolden or Isaiah Bond can. They just don't have the personnel right now. And Le'Veon Moss, their most explosive playmaker offensively done for the year. Who else can you rely on right now outside of Marcel Reed to make plays offensively? That's going to be the big question, and one that they're going to have to come up with an answer for pretty quickly.
Yep. No, that's a good point there. All right. I know we got some questions we'll get into. We'll get you an injury update because Sark brought up an injury update with specific players at his media availability today. But before we get back to it, let's thank another one of our sponsors. Let's thank our friends over at Flat Creek Estate Winery. Really appreciate our friends over at Flat Creek for sponsoring the winning drive. Folks, trust me, you want to experience great wine, Flat Creek Estate Winery. They have a great selection of wines, including their vintage wine, Super Texan, one of the most awarded wines in Texas. And they're actually really close to Austin, Texas, really close to Austin. As a matter of fact, they're just minutes from downtown Austin, and they've won award after award after I just mentioned, for their vintage wine Super Texan. It's now available at your local Specs. They also have it at your local Central Market here in Austin. Of course, Flat Creek is a gorgeous venue with barbecues and wine tastings every single weekend. Perfect for a day date with your significant other or a weekend getaway with your significant other or that very special person in your life. So you can look them up at flatcreekestate.com. That's flatcreekestate.com, or check out their great inventory of wine. The selection is fantastic. My wife loves it. She's a big fan of it. We've introduced it to different members of our family. They love the different wine selections, and they love the Super Texan over at Flat Creek Estate. And I think you will too. So check it out for yourself. And thank you very much for sponsoring the winning drive. All right, CJ, let's get to the injury report. Sark did mention that some of the Longhorns who have been unavailable for them and were unavailable in that Vanderbilt game, that they are indeed practicing now with the team.
Yeah. Isaiah Bond back on the field. Andrew Makuba back on the field this morning for the Texas Longhorns during practice. Of course, neither of them played against Vanderbilt. Andrew Makuba dinged up late in that game earlier this in October, and obviously Isaiah Bond dinged up against Oklahoma. Played against Georgia, not 100%. You can clearly tell he was not the same football player in that game. Sat out the Vanderbilt game, did not make the trip. Now Texas had them back on the practice field this morning. Both of them are expected to play this weekend against Florida, one in which I'll start with Bond. That's huge for the Longhorn offense. Talking about finding its own mojo, getting its momentum back. Texas moved the ball against Vanderbilt. Probably should have had a little bit more success offensively, especially in the second half. Getting Bond back will certainly help the cause there.
Yeah, will they? I mean, Stephen Lee wanted to see more deep balls thrown. Does that? I think that will largely depend, as Sark mentioned, on the way Florida decides to play Texas, Coach. If they decide to keep those safeties deep, we're going to see the same type of game plan we saw versus Vanderbilt. Take what the defense is giving you. If Florida does indeed come up and try to make plays on some of those quick throws, those perimeter screens, those detached screens, Sark sounds like he's itching to take some shots, especially if Bond is back. He sounds like he wants to do it, because he was almost snarky in that media availability when CJ asked him a question. You tell them to come up, and then we'll throw it over their head if they come up. Did he sound like he was itching to do it, Coach?
Oh, yeah. There's no doubt. There's no doubt. The thing that worries me is that, jumping our short routes, with help over the top, that's scary a little bit. If Quinn is not, if he's not dialed in and conscious of what's going on out there, or, like we talked about before, the corner blitz coming from the short side of the field, that kind of stuff worries me a little bit. And I think we're going to see them put together a defensive plan that was kind of the best of what Georgia and the best of what Vanderbilt did to us, that fits their personnel. And I don't know the personnel well enough to know what fits it. But I agree with you wholeheartedly. He's wanting to chunk that thing deep, man. That's just that's just who he is. He likes to go deep, and I do too. ATMO, we used to call it, air that mother out.
I like that.
Texas is going to have two opportunities to get that vertical passing game going before the playoffs coming up. The next 2 weeks are going to be huge, right? Florida, Jason Marshall, their top cornerback, he's out for the year. So they had two more dinged up in the secondary, I believe, against Georgia. We'll see what their status is on Wednesday night when their availability comes out. But they got banged up, and that's why looking at this schedule, Texas coming off the bye and Florida coming off of Georgia. You talk about health and just being able to walk into a game with a little bit more confidence. Texas certainly has that right now after that physical football game that they had to play in Jacksonville this weekend. On top of that, in the week after, I'm not sure if any of y'all watched what happened with Ole Miss and Arkansas this weekend, but Arkansas might as well have been playing with 7 players on the field defensively. They did not play with a lick of help in that secondary. Jackson Dart threw for 6 touchdowns and 515 yards. He had 3 touchdowns of 60-plus yards, Coach. One wide receiver had 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, I know. But you know what? Most coaches would have pulled off a little bit. I kept thinking, surely he ain't. Man, he didn't. He brought in that backup, and they just kept airing that mother out. They really did. They were at Mona, man. It's like he wanted to. I don't know if there's something going on there, or that's just who Lane is. I don't know. But I thought, okay, man, You made your point. Bam, here they go again.
That's who Lane is. That's part of this who Lane is. But oh man, we gotta make a t-shirt about that, Coach. You gotta copyright that. Air that mother out. It's best. We'll wait till Arch comes out because Arch is gonna air that mother out. Arch is to air that mother out quarterback. So we'll wait. Wait on Arch. Yeah, we'll make a lot of t-shirts.
Now he will air it out.
Yeah, no, would you? No, and then we can make the song just like MC Hammer turned his mother out. We'll just make the song air this mother.
There you go.
Yeah, I like it. No, it's money. I like that, Coach.
Can I do a little?
Come on, Coach.
How many 64-year-old men you know beatboxing, baby? Huh?
Coach got the pen at the table. He's doing.
They never thought they'd see it. Boom.
That's back in my Temple High days, back in the '80s when they boys taught me how to beatbox.
That's good stuff.
See, and honestly, Coach did it pretty good. I don't know. Coach's beatbox is probably better than mine, which is a damn shame. Oh man. That was good. That was legit. Air this mother out. I won't forget. I wrote that down, Coach. And I'm gonna give you credit. Right. But we got to make some t-shirts when Art starts airing that mother out for real. All right, let's get to. I want to ask you. Let's get to a question that Jeff threw out a super chat. Thank you very much, Jeff, for the super chat. Really appreciate that. He said, "Would you rather lose to Arkansas or Aggie? What are the playoff implications for each? I say beat the Aggie. I'm sending Dr. Rod a virtual hug." Dr. Rod, watch, because I got the white on. Is that what it is? Because I got
either that or father.
It's representing. No, you know what I mean. This is my friends over at the 40 Acres Apparel. We appreciate them. Okay, first of all, they're not going to lose to Arkansas. I don't think. I say that. I'm not saying in a cocky way, but and I don't know if Arkansas has. I think CJ just kind of brought it up. Right now, their defense has got some holes in it. They do have some really good edge defenders that I like, but I worry they don't have the secondary defenders to keep up with a healthy Texas skill group. The dual threat quarterback is always a concern, and going to Fayetteville, Vietnam as they call it, yes, that's always scary. And last time Texas went there, Old Testament style butt whipping they got. But I don't know. I feel confident going up against Arkansas. The Aggie one. That's the one. But now the news about Le'Veon Moss makes that Aggie offense a little bit less formidable. And I think South Carolina put out a pretty good blueprint to try to stop the Aggie offense, Coach. I think Texas can pretty much deploy the same blueprint. They don't have the elite edge guy. I think South Carolina's probably got better, just overall some high-end edge guys. But Texas has depth on the D-line, and Texas is a better defense than South Carolina. They can replicate that blueprint.
Yeah, but South Carolina's got the 6'4", 140-pound quarterback, and the running back is just a man among.
He's a monster.
Oh yeah. We don't have either one of those.
No.
But there's no doubt. I mean, I don't want to lose to either one of them. I don't want to lose another game this year, but I dang sure don't want to lose at College Station.
No. You can't lose that game for recruiting purposes, giving Elko that leg up in terms of in-state prospects as well. It's what Texas and why that Oklahoma game was so important, right? Texas Sarkisian can't go to 1-3 against Brent Venables. You just can't have that happen. And for him to be able to point to 2 blowout victories in the last 3 years, that's big now. Because what DFW, that game in the heart of DFW and where we've seen recruits either bounce up to Norman or come down to Austin, that DFW area is your entire fighting ground. It's the same way with Texas A&M right now in the state of Texas. You got to keep that leg up. You got to be the it school in the state first. And that starts with winning with that game on November 30th whenever it comes back.
Yep. No, I totally agree with you on that. It's still going to be a big game, even though the Aggies did take the loss to South Carolina. And it wasn't just a loss. I mean, that was a butt whipping. I mean,
but you know what? I'm thankful that Sark has game day experience in Fayetteville. He's been there. Now he knows. He knows what it's like now. I'm not sure that when that team went up there, I was thinking, I hope somebody's really told him how much we're hated up there and how tough that place is to win for Texas. Mate, I mean, it's tough for anybody, but Texas, it's tough. It's tough. And so I'm so thankful he's had that experience and learned what that environment is going to be like, as well as some of the older players on the team have that experience as well. So they better have their guns loaded when they go up there too.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're right about that, Coach. I agree with you 100%, man. They hate Texas more than they love themselves. There ain't no doubt about it, and it makes a difference on the field. It did. So I agree with you on that. Dean here says, "Do you think Florida's secondary is playing at an elite level, or is Carson Beck just not good?" Carson Beck. If Quinn was playing, if Quinn didn't have his bounce back game and was playing as bad as Carson Beck is still playing, I think Sark would have benched Quinn if he was still playing that bad. Well, honestly.
If Georgia had a Arch Manning on their sidelines, the decision would have already been made. And
I feel like that too.
11 picks. Quinn played bad against Georgia. He played bad against Oklahoma. He wasn't throwing picks in a triple and quadruple coverage. Say what you want about the interception for Quinn. For the most part, there's not been balls that you look at and right off the hand know that ball is getting intercepted. It's been a tip. It's been an overthrow. It's been a ball. The Oklahoma one, you can look at it and say, yeah, that was a really bad throw. But for the most part, it was a heck of a play by the DB, or it was a batted ball at the line of scrimmage. Again, for Carson Beck, you saw all three of those interceptions against Florida, and not a single one of them were you sitting there thinking, oh man, I could defend that throw. That was just a heck of a play. No, dude, they were all bad throws. He's not been playing good. You see that right now. What is that? 11 turnovers in the last 5 games.
Yeah, I don't even know. I don't know how he fell off so precipitously. I don't really understand. I haven't watched every Georgia game, so I don't understand exactly what's going on with him. He didn't do. Was it an injury? I don't maybe at least Quinn's issues and regression are linked to an injury. I think we all agree. Whether it's still the lingering injury or whatever the effects of it, that's where it started. Where did Carson Beck's and why did his decline start? Do we know? Well,
I tell you, look at 3 of the top 5 quarterbacks in the nation when this season started, Heisman hopefuls. And I would say that Connor Wegman and Beck are certainly below Quinn in terms of the season they're having. And I would say nobody saw that coming for all 3 of those guys to have the kind of year that they're having. Now, there's still plenty of time, and Quinn has not fallen the way those guys have fallen.
Right.
But there's still time for him to, lead us to a national championship. There's not going to be the Heisman or any of that stuff, but it's just crazy how things work out. I mean, those guys, all 3 of those guys were in the talk for the Heisman.
No, you're right about
that. And now you're.
Yeah. Even more than that, Coach. I mean, Oklahoma, A&M, and Texas.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Because it's not those arguments, those preseason arguments and rankings of who's going to be the guy to surprise amongst this little, rivalry trio. I mean, is anybody really pounding the chest for their quarterback right now? Not really.
Well, Texas still has first world problems because at least you have options with Texas, and Quinn is still, in my opinion, playing right now better than Carson Beck is playing. And, I still think you got a really good chance to win at a high level with Quinn if he continues to improve. But I don't know what's going on with Carson Beck. It's a really good point. Right now, Shadur Sanders and Cam Ward look like the 2 quarterbacks in his class right now. I'm sure things could change down the stretch here. Bob wants to know, can Quinn start working on escaping the pocket like the SC quarterback did? Seems important. Quinn has had a few plays this season where he's looked really good moving outside the pocket. I remember, he did it in the Michigan game. Yep. And he did it recently, the Oklahoma game. That DeAndre Moore play. Remember DeAndre Moore down the side? It's like it's a 3rd down, I believe. He does a really good job of being able to extend the play, moving outside to his right. And it was a touch throw right over the Oklahoma defenders.
Really nice throw.
Yeah. It was a great throw, great catch too. So he's done it. He's done it a few times. But that's one of the things I think that he needs to continue to improve on, how he deals with pressure and the many different ways he can mitigate disaster and mitigate the damage done by pressure. Every quarterback is going to essentially struggle with pressure in a certain way. The best quarterbacks, though, they make sound decisions and they make the best possible decision in that moment, dealing with the pressure. And for Quinn, sometimes that is escaping from the pocket. Sometimes that is, the check down. Sometimes that should be the hot read. And sometimes it's to take the sack. I mean, frankly, sometimes that's the best play, or to throw it away, whatever it may be. That's going to be on Quinn. I think that's the struggle for Quinn going forward, because like you said, Coach, they're going to see the blitz. They're going to see the cornerback blitz. They're going to see the slot corner, boundary cornerback blitz. They're going to see the A-gap blitz. They're going to see delayed rushers, delayed pressures. They're going to see that. Why? Because they've struggled with it the last 2 games, and that's why they're going to see it. Period.
If there's a reason for optimism right now, I think Quinn in that second half against Vanderbilt looked as comfortable he has looked in the pocket since he's returned from injury. And I know the stats didn't really back it up all that well. I know that the Texas offense, we talked about it, really stalled there, but when he needed to, he converted a 3rd and 20 and a 2nd and 17 while climbing the pocket right there and finding guys down the field on bullet passes. And that's also been another topic of conversation for Quinn, is when does he need to pull out the fastball? Can he do it? He did it against Vanderbilt in those 2 moments. He also had a 9 or 10 yard rush on a scramble where he climbed the pocket while, trying to keep the play alive down the field. Again, that's been the big issue for Quinn, is when that pressure comes, can he evade it and can he make plays down the field? We hadn't seen that since he's returned from injury, but those last 2 quarters against Vanderbilt were finally that little glimpse back to Michigan when he was looking like the best quarterback in the country with the way that he was making off platform and, throws under pressure. I hope that continues to be the case this weekend.
I think that it's something that quarterbacks always have to work on. And Rod, you and I talked about this a few weeks ago on Football Theory. It is a part of it is just innate. And some guys are just bad. They just feel the pocket. Some it's more natural for them, like I think it seemed like to me Mahomes is kind of a natural at it. He's better at it. But I really think that, to your point, CJ, the fact that Quinn is healthy now, I think we're going to start seeing. My hope is this week we see the old Quinn back. He's not hurting in his abs anymore. He's not worried about getting hit. He feels more comfortable moving and. Because some of those quarterbacks, while you got the ball, you're putting your body in some awkward positions while you're avoiding rushes, and getting up in the pocket and having to get out, roll out left and right, and that's you got to rely on your core to do that. And if your core is hurting you, you're not really probably certainly playing at your best. And I think now we'll see, but I'm hoping that he's 100% healed, and we'll see the Quinn that was at Michigan.
Yeah, the Quinn in Michigan was I think the Pro Football Focus stat, he had a higher Pro Football Focus grade under pressure than he did from a clean pocket, which is crazy to think, but that's the ideal situation, or at least the ideal version of Quinn you want to see. Cool, calm, and collected, making all the right decisions, all the right throws under pressure. And I agree with you, CJ. There were several throws in that Vandy game. Now, Vandy just rolled the dice, man. They were gambling. You remember that 3rd and I believe it was a 3rd and 7, the one they got to Gunnar Helm over the middle, the hot read. And Gunnar Helm is getting like 20-something yards out of it, and it was a 3rd and long. It was a 6-man blitz, and they came with the safety blitz and the cornerback blitz. You remember Matthew Golden's wide open.
Like they didn't account for him.
Yeah, they didn't account for him. And honestly, DeAndre Moore is kind of running open too. Honestly, Quinn ends up making the toughest throw. But he was throwing to his hot read because he knew they were blitzing. So he was going to his hot read. I think Gunnar Helm was the hot read, but it was a busted coverage. So Golden ends up wide open, but he handled the pressure really well there. My point is he delivered the football on the money, got the football there. That touchdown to DeAndre Moore, not the slot fade they checked to, which was also very impressive by Quinn. But the one that the wheel route that he got to, that was also a cornerback blitz that he got off really quickly. So there was some plays where he handled the blitz really well. Like he processed it beforehand, knew it was coming, knew exactly where he was going with the football. And then once the post-snap aligned with his pre-snap diagnosis, everything went well. And he just need to see more of that from Quinn, how he handles pressure. Because if I'm Florida, I blitz him. I got nothing to lose. I'm coming after him. I got nothing to lose. If I sit back and wait, Texas is going to eat me alive because they're just better overall. But if I take some chances, it might work out for me if I roll the dice, like it did against Vanderbilt a couple of times. All right. Thank you for the question there. We appreciate that. How about this one from Texas Chick 01 says, what are chances we have a bigger lead blocker in some sets? Seems we could help ourselves with similarly to Harbaugh at Michigan. We've talked about this, Coach. We talked about it actually, CJ, you and I as well. Sarks, there's not a lot of bully ball this year. Your 6-0 line package, even with Juan Davis and your 12 personnel, that's as close as you're getting to bully ball with Juan Davis maybe as that guy. Gunnar Helm's too valuable now in the passing game to be using him in lead blocking situations. So Juan Davis is your guy if you're going to use somebody in the run game in that manner. Could we see something coming out of the bye week, Coach, that could add to the run game, maybe schematically, something like that? I mean, we haven't seen a 6-0 line package. Don't know if we will. They have been playing the 2 tailback sets. They like the pony package still. Could we see some of that with a lead blocker?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm like you. I'm hoping that it's something that he's kept in his hip pocket for the right time. If I'm Florida, I'm going to say, okay, you're not throwing it over our head. We're going to take away your passing. If you're going to beat us, you got to beat us with your third and fourth team running back. You know, I'm wondering if it wouldn't be a bad idea if the scholarship numbers do indeed go to 125. Isn't that what it would be? 105 or 125?
105.
105, and now they're 85, right?
Yeah, like a 20 point. Yeah, 20.
Yeah, so 20. So as I've said, get you a couple of punters and kickers on scholarship. Get you a fullback. Get you a bruising fullback. I'm talking about a dude with the freaking neck roll, you know, that just doesn't care what anybody thinks about him. He's got to spit out his dip to go on the field. I mean, that's the kind of guy I want out there.
Coach, where are you gonna find him? Where are you gonna find him? They don't even play at the high school level. You gotta make one. You got to develop.
You go straight to North Dakota State's roster and you find one of those guys.
That's right. That is right. One of those guys that's just hungry. I mean, you got a chain on him on the sidelines, and he goes in there and he takes the chain off and goes out there and just blowing people up. Man, that's back in the good old days. What was a NFL running back that had the white dude with a neck roll that had pretty good speed too? But
Peyton Hillis?
Yes. Peyton Hillis. It was Brown.
Hillis? Yeah, you're right about that.
He's one of them.
He was part of that Arkansas team with Darren McFadden and was it Tashard Choice? Or Felix Jones?
Felix Jones. It was Felix Jones.
Yeah.
You're right. Felix Jones.
That's right.
No, you're right. Honestly, Coach, you could go that route, man. You can zig when everybody else is at.
That's what I'm talking about. See, that dude, he eats dog food raw. Look at it. I mean, he just like look at that face mask. That face mask just like I'm coming after you, buddy. You better just tuck your tail.
That's the one who gets down and dirty with it, Coach.
That's right.
No, I don't know. I like the idea. I don't know where you'd find him these days. They're hard to find. Find an old school fullback like that. But Sark is not interested in bully ball this year. It's not really maybe because he doesn't think he has the running backs. Maybe with CJ Baxter out, he doesn't believe he has the running backs to be able to do that. But that was definitely something they were interested in last year, playing a little bit more of that. Maybe at those jumbo packages, you at the Wildcat or the Red Cat. We haven't seen that really. We haven't seen the 6-0 line package. So just a different version of the Texas football team this year, and bully ball is not really a part of that. All right, thank you, Texas Chick. We appreciate the question. CB says, "What's with Texas tight ends and hurdling?" I saw JT Sanders with the with the Panthers this weekend. I think he had like 80-something yards receiving, if I'm not mistaken. But he had a big long run after hurdling a couple of defenders and running down the sideline. My prediction was he'd end up starting for the Panthers by the end of the season. I don't know if he started that game. I haven't been keeping up, but I just looked at the tight end and was like, well, if he stays healthy, knock on wood.
After NFL highlights this week, we're going to have guys. Now the trend is going to be hurdling, running backwards. I mean, did you see that? Was that not the craziest play?
That was the craziest play. One of the craziest plays I've ever seen. Unbelievable.
We're going to start seeing that now. So I don't know if anybody's athletic enough to do it, but golly.
No.
I don't like hurdling stuff.
That was crazy, man. I don't even know how Saquon did. I don't even know how you do that. He basically jumped over, and it wasn't even a hurdle. He literally just leapfrogged a dude with his back turned to him like he had eyes in the back of his head. And I don't even know how that's possible. It was something out of the Matrix, man. It was crazy. Yeah, that dude's next level. Yeah, maybe you got a running back like that. I mean, you can do any damn thing. That dude's a freak. All right. Thank you guys for the question. Oh, CB wants to know Ricky wants us to know that Ricky, don't forget Ricky was a fullback.
Look at this. Yeah, like this. Now he ain't running to the right, folks. He's running to the left.
No, yeah.
It's nuts.
Exactly. I don't even know how he did it. I still don't understand how he did that. If somebody asked him exactly what he's like, how he sensed that dude, because there's no way he saw him. He had to sense him. And who has kind of football instincts like that, man? That's like a spidey sense. X-Man stuff going on there with Saquon. All right. Thank you guys for appreciate the super chat. How about this real quick? James says Brent V gets a lot of heat for picking Arnold over Gabriel, rightfully so. But when is Kirby going to get the same heat for picking Beck over Raiola? Yeah, but he's won national title, so he gets more of the benefit of the doubt. That's just that simple. You benefit, right, Coach? Is that
yeah.
Right? That clout, skins on the wall.
Yeah. When Raiola's leading the number one team in the country and also the Heisman race, that's probably when you can start picking that same conversation. Gabriel's been really good his entire college career for sure.
Yeah. No, I agree with you about that. That's a good point. All right, let's talk about the upcoming schedule for the Longhorns, the future schedule for the Longhorns. I saw this earlier today. The Longhorns will have a home and home on the upcoming schedule with Notre Dame. That is going to be in this. Yeah, Notre Dame, they will play them in 28 and 29. And Notre Dame are expected to sign an agreement, maybe already signed. Bobby Burton reported that earlier today. And that is now added to the future upcoming opponents for the Longhorns. They'll have Ohio State as an upcoming opponent in back-to-back years. They'll have Michigan, I think, sandwiched in between there, and then you'll have Notre Dame in back-to-back years. It continues to train at Chris Del Conte. It says it here, the philosophy. He wants to schedule big-time blue blood programs for Texas, and with the college football playoff at 12 and expanding, there's less risk. You don't have as much to lose in case you do lose that game. You'll still be in a situation to make the playoffs as long as you take care of business within the conference. So it's really just a reward, I feel like, for the fans more than anything. And I admire CDC and the Texas leadership for scheduling the big dogs. I mean, those are great trips for a lot of fans who've been following this program for years. They say the schedule has never been better to take those trips to those blue blood programs that really you rarely get a chance to do.
I would love to get USC back on the schedule.
Yeah.
Do it home and home. That's a fun trip, man. That's a fun trip.
That's a good one.
It's great. I mean, it's big for the fans, but for the players too, because that game is going to be on game day, big noon, whatever it is, right? It's going to bring the headlines because it's Texas. It's Notre Dame. It's what we saw in Michigan this year with the Longhorns going up to Ann Arbor, and you hear about it from guys like Andrew Makuba after the game. Yeah, this is why I came to Texas, to playing games like this. That means something. Kids see that and say, I want to be a part of this program because they're winning and they play on the biggest game of the week every single week, essentially. It's big. And I know that fans want to debate a little bit whether or not this is beneficial for Texas to even play in, considering you got a whole SEC slate coming up. Listen, if you're going to compete for the SEC, you're going to beat Notre Dame and Michigan and these teams right now. And that's, again, a big reward because with the way that the scheduling shaped up right now, you only get one test before conference play comes.
Yeah. You don't want to schedule Maine? You don't want to schedule Maine?
I don't want Maine. I don't want Tulane. I don't want Temple. Coach, come on. I mean,
I'm kidding. Okay, but then that, of course, that leads to if the ACC goes to a 9-game schedule,
which is worth the conversation when that comes.
Yeah.
Will that come? That's the other part, because I believe CDC and Sarkisian have both been advocates for going to a 9-team schedule, because we're seeing it right now. If there's an opportunity right now for 8 teams, I believe, to finish 10-2 in conference play.
Yeah.
What's then the decider? Because you don't have marquee wins if you're a Tennessee right now because of who you played in the preseason. Texas has a win on the road at Michigan. You can say what you want about Texas and Michigan and the directions that they've gone this year, but that's a feather in the cap that no other team has right now, with an exception of maybe an Alabama with a win over Georgia. Right? That means something. That has to mean something that you at least tried, because wins over UT Chattanooga and Incarnate Word, all due respect, that's not the same.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. I mean, I'm a little jealous of the guys getting to play those big time matchups, but it's really, really good for the fans. And I'm with you. I think the 9-game schedule, I think I'm also an advocate of it. I'm glad CDC and Sark supported too. Let's thank our friends over at Duck Camp before we continue. Duck Camp produces premium outdoor goods for the outdoor spirit in all of us. Duck Camp is dedicated to providing the best outdoor goods so you can outdoor good, whether you're an avid hunter or you prefer fishing or you prefer, like me, the camaraderie of the campsite. You can also enjoy Duck Camp premium outdoor goods, folks. They understand the culture of outdoor living and the good times and good friends that come along with living an outdoor lifestyle. So go check out their fall selection. As a matter of fact, I got a couple of my items that just came in. Really excited about that. Duckcamp.com is where you go check them out. Of course, you can see the hat right there, but duckcamp.com, go check them out. Their new fall selection is great. I got about 4 or 5 items that I got in the closet right now that I just got. So I'll store it Sport Knows on the channel. But you should go check them out too before they run out, because actually they do sell out a lot of their popular items. Duckcamp.com. Thank you for sponsoring the winning drive. Really appreciate that. Jeff said, if we lose to Aggie and go 9-2, we may not make the playoffs. Well, a second loss for Texas, they end up 10-2 on the schedule. I do think Texas still has a chance to make the playoffs. I think they has actually depending on how everything shakes out, I think they have a chance to make the playoffs. But you're right, you don't want any margin for error there. A one-loss Texas team is in, no doubt. As a matter of fact, one-loss Texas team probably gets into the SEC title game, correct? The way it looks right now.
Yep.
If you just continue to win out, let's just say win out,
right?
Texas will make the SEC title game. That is also one of their goals. So, but if they don't win out, then you don't control your own fate if you have 2 losses. You need some help, but I think they want Texas in. I don't want to be cocky and arrogant about that, but 2-loss Texas, I'll put it up against anybody else's 2-loss resume. It'll be pretty impressive. And, a loss to the Aggies, I guess, that would, depending on where the Aggies are ranked at the time, it wouldn't look that bad on the road. I'm not sure exactly, how much they would be favored by in that game going into it, but they are favored right now. I know last time I looked, so. All right. Thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate that. All right, guys, let me ask you about the upcoming opponent. Stevie said he'd take the 21 points all day, every day, and twice on Sunday. I don't think we discussed it. You guys confident Texas wins by more than 21 versus Florida? DJ Lagway is probably not going to play, but I know he hasn't been ruled out. But chances are, guys, he won't play. He just got carted off the field for a hamstring injury. Even if he does play, he'll probably be more of a liability than he would be an asset for them. With their third string walk-on quarterback, walk-on transfer from Yale, what do you have the Longhorns winning the game by?
24 feels right.
24. Okay.
Again, Florida has talent. It's not going to be a complete rollover, but we've seen what Texas can do against teams with talent that don't have quarterback talent. Michigan,
quarterback talent.
Oklahoma. I mean, those are all teams that have guys that would play at Texas. Unfortunately, their quarterbacks would not. And that's really where you've seen this defense carry this program this year, is against inept quarterbacks. And I think that's what you're going to see again this weekend. If that's the case and Texas can find ways to move the football, listen, I forget what was the game earlier. Was it Kentucky against Florida? Florida played a team earlier this year where it was a complete barn burner. And we've seen Kentucky's schedule. Like we've seen that offense is not good. Even A&M. I think A&M had 450, 500 yards of offense. We know what A&M offensively is, and that was with Connor Wakeman, right? I mean, There's issues there for Florida defensively. And now they're dinged up in the secondary as well. It holistically looking at it should be a game where all three phases get back into that rhythm for Texas this weekend.
Yeah. Well, let's not forget our offensive line struggles. I mean, I would say 28 if our offensive line and Quinn get back in rhythm, and are playing up to their potential. But if our offensive line is playing sloppy and Quinn is not comfortable, I'm just hoping for a win, and I think we'll get that. But I'd say if our offense is what we hope it's going to be, 28 points.
Yeah. No, like I said, when the line came out at 21, I was like, wow, that's a big number. And now hearing the news about, DJ Lagway watching Florida, I think Florida actually, they got some athletes, I think, in the secondary. So I do wonder if they'll take some chances in the secondary. But, ultimately teams have been running the football. I think they're close to 90th in the country in rush defense. Texas hasn't been able to run the football really effectively. They did have a bye week to try to come up with some new ways to juice the running game. I do wonder if Sark will come out, try to establish the run versus Florida, or if Sark will come out, same game plan that he had versus Vandy, take what the defense has given you. Will be interesting to see how the Longhorns bounce back offensively versus this Florida team, because they're in a different situation. They got nothing to lose, and if you're in Texas, you don't really fear Florida being able to score a lot of points on you either. I mean, they're going to struggle to score points. They're going to struggle to throw the football even vertically down the field, honestly.
Yep.
All right. Let's thank our friends over at South Point before we get ready to close out our live stream. And thank you very much to our friends over at South Point Dodge for sponsoring the winning drive. Folks, if you are looking for a new car, if you're looking for a used car, our friends over at South Point Dodge can get you a great deal, and you can score an easy extra point when you get to the point over at South Point Dodge. They have over 600 vehicles in stock right now, including a great selection of Ram 1500s, 2500s, and 3500s. Whatever your truck needs, South Point Dodge is your one-stop shop. Right now, they have a great deal happening with over 50 Ram 2500s, all marked down with huge savings. So go check it out for yourself over at southpointdodge.com, or you can go see their great inventory and selection for yourself off of I-35 in South Austin. That's South Point Dodge. Get to the point at South Point Dodge, Austin's automotive everything, and your one-stop shop for all of your truck needs. Thank you very much to South Point Dodge for sponsoring the winning drive. We appreciate them. All right. One more question here. Bob said earlier, it's been said that Sark scripts the first 20 to 40 plays of a game. Can you speak to what that really means once you get into a game flow? Coach, I'll throw this one to you. The script. How dedicated is a coach to his script? And when do you abandon the script, or do you abandon the script?
Well, yes, you always have to have a plan B, because we don't ever know how people are going to defend us. We don't ever know what we're going to see, because our offense is high powered and it's somewhat unique. There are a lot of people doing what we do, but there's a lot of people that don't have the athletes to do what we do. And so it enables us to script some things and do some things that maybe some other people couldn't do. But when they come up and they're showing you something totally different, yeah, you better not stay with the script if the script doesn't match up well against what they're showing us with their defense. So I like the fact that he can script. And a lot of times the first couple of series are just feeling out what, you're wanting to have some big plays, you're wanting to score, you're wanting to move the chains and all that stuff, but you're also wanting to show them different formations, different sets, different motion shifts, so you can try to get a bead on exactly how they're going to defend you. And so Sark has been pretty good about that. But I think it all depends on what you're seeing defensively. If they're doing the same thing they've shown you already and you've scripted for it, go ahead and go. But you've got to be able to adjust on the fly, which Sark does usually pretty well. Yeah,
it does seem like Sark is troubleshooting early on at times, just trying to figure out the rules of the defense. All defenses have rules that bind the structural integrity of the defense, and you can't. Everybody operates by those rules, and Sarkis is trying to figure out those rules. How you play a bunch set, how they play condensed and compressed sets, how do they respond to motion, how do they respond, to all these different, formational problems. And then by the second quarter, he's got a bead on the rules of the defense. And then once he finds out the rules, he's going to violate them over and over again. Like, he's going to violate the rules and just try to find different ways for you as a DB to put you in a compromising situation where you have to, operate outside of those rules. He's really good at that. He actually does a really good job of that. And I think Coach is right. I think that's a lot of what his initial game plan is for. And if he makes yards on it, really, that's great. But then it's just trying to figure out how the defense is trying to play you and how they're trying to defend certain concepts. All right, that was a really good question. Thank you for that. We appreciate it. All right, we come to the end of our live stream. We appreciate all you guys and your questions and participation. Remember, tomorrow you'll have tomorrow's a big day, obviously, for a lot of reasons. But you also, don't we have the first college football playoff rankings coming out
tomorrow night?
Yeah.
The biggest news going on tomorrow night.
Why did they do that tomorrow night?
Because we need something else to get our mind on and talk about. Golly. I'm so sick. I'll be so glad when this mess is over.
Is that what it is, Coach? We need a welcome distraction.
Oh man, I will watch the entire presentation of the playoff committee selections before
just to have something else to focus on.
Oh man.
Well, I hope no matter what it is, I hope everybody gets out there and votes, no matter who you're voting for. Get out there and vote. It'd be great. But yeah, I'm with Coach. I guess that'll drop tomorrow. So we'll be talking about that on the Tuesday night live stream whenever that drops. Also, of course, you got Coffee and Football. That'll be at 8 a.m. You will join Bobby and the crew for Coffee and Football. Also, tomorrow, like I said, that Tuesday night live stream, that'll be at 7 with E. Hogan, myself, and CJ Vogel. And I think we'll be talking, at least we'll be following the college football playoff rankings as they drop. Thank you to Matthew behind the scenes for doing a great job as always. Thank you to Lifetime Longhorn Stevie Lee for joining us as well, courtesy of our good friends over at Hardgrove Roofing, hardgroveroofing.com. Also, thank you very much to South Point Dodge, southpointdodge.com, Flat Creek Estate Winery, flatcreekestate.com, and thank you to Duck Camp, duckcamp.com, for sponsoring our winning drive here. We appreciate it. Coach, thank you for all the knowledge and the wisdom. CJ, you are the man. Thanks for the hustle and all of your hard work. And thank you to Matthew behind the scenes. Until next, and thank you guys for joining us. Thank you guys for your participation and for the super chats and all the questions. Until next time, hook 'em horns.